Okay, boys, here we go. Guess I don't have to tell you, I'm already dripping in sweat. Okay, so today I'm going to start out with part two of the BRI Footwork platform, but I'm going to go to part one of the Abtik Panuntukan partial stepping. As you can see, I have the asterisk taped down here to the floor. I hope you can see it. And so I'm going to be starting from this position. This is the way that we learned it classically, all right? You can also do it from this neutral position, but mainly the way that we learned it traditionally was just from this basic posture like this. And that just basically gives you a center that you can work symmetry from. Okay, so all of these are actually called replacement steps. And what you want to keep in mind is that you can change your facing during these steps, all right? And I'll get into a little bit of that later on, all right? Facing means the direction that, it's hard to describe almost. It's like, it's really, when I have my right foot forward, my facing is like this, okay? And so facing really means the direction that you're looking at, but it also begins to mean pointing your shoulder. See how I'm pointing my right shoulder here? Now I'm pointing my left shoulder towards the center here and my right shoulder towards the center here. That has to do with facing, all right? So from this position, all we're going to do is step forward and do a backward replacement. And we're going to do 10 repetitions this time, all right? So we have 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay? Now we're going to step backward replacement. Sorry, stepping backwards but forward replacement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And now we'll go with the open triangle. Some call this the V step, stepping forward diagonal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and backward diagonal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice I'm sinking. 6, and I'm turning. 7, 8. I'm pointing the shoulder. 9, and 10. All right. Now we're going to the lateral footwork, the horizontal footwork. And I'll give you an example of facing on this line. All right. When I step off the line, I'm going to step to the right first. I'm going to point my shoulder at my opponent. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right? The next time I'm going to do it, I'm going to face away. I'm still pointing my shoulder, but I was talking about facing as, again, it's hard to describe facing. Facing is your obvious power line to attack. Facing away from is your hidden power line to attack. All right? So there's a bit of deception involved with closed and open facing. Okay? This is closed facing. This is open facing. Okay? This is open facing. All right? Now, I'll try to articulate that better for you guys. When it gets more into the hitting and striking and cutting and things like that, you'll understand a little bit more what I mean about facing. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, so just to review, we have stepping forward and forward. We have stepping backward and backward. We have stepping forward diag and forward diag. We have backward diag, horizontal, horizontal. All right, with the different manners of facing as well. All right, so that is what we call symmetrical work from a neutral position. And in this case, the heels were just together like this. All right. It wouldn't be a great position to start in combatively, but you never know. All right, so basically now I'm going to be working from, I'll face you guys to begin with here. Remember, this is my closed stance. This is my open stance, okay? So I'll be working from an open stance, all right? So, what I'm going to do now is take a partial step forward, and I'm going to return, and take a partial step backwards, and return. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right? Now what I'm going to do is angle off of the partial step. 1, but then I'm going to come back again to the center, and I'm going to go forward diagonal this way. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I'm going to do the same thing backward diagonal. Notice how I turn and face towards my opponent. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see my rear foot's a smaller step. 5 is a smaller step. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right? Same thing for the lateral footwork. Again, I'll be using the facing to point my shoulders at my opponent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, good. So that's just using the asterisk to show partial stepping in 8 directions. All right. So now we'll get into the actual tactical combinations that are really unique from Guru Ted. And of course, I use them both in the entire Boxer Rebellion footwork platform, and then of course in the Kali Abtik weaponry and the Panuntukan mano empty hand portion of the training as well. Now, again, what we're doing here kind of is differentiating Jeet Kune Do from FMA or Guru Ted's Kali. But again, there's a lot of overlap, and the overlap comes from boxing and fencing, and it just comes also from the whole thing about the human style, or the understanding of universal geometry, direction, movement, and so on and so forth. But again, what I wanted to say also is that I don't see any of this Panuntukan footwork breaking any Jeet Kune Do rules, and I don't see any of the Jeet Kune Do footwork breaking any of the Panuntukan rules. However, I do kind of want to keep them separate so people understand the historical reference of where they came from. Ultimately, it all works together, in my opinion, because it's just geometry and physics and body mechanics, all right? Okay, where are we? All right, so I'm not going to get into punching or anything yet, okay, because we have a lot to cover. So this is isolated footwork to be integrated with defense and offensive methods, all right? But the first one that we're going to do is the the open triangle, okay, or the V step. And basically, you're going to do 2 in a row, okay? 1, and back to center. 2, and back to center. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and backward diagonal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good. Now you probably saw me a couple times not quite getting the angle that I wanted on my rear foot. You really have to be mindful of getting that rotation in to get that angle when you step off of the rear foot. But there are other versions of this where actually you cut the line in half and come straight down the center with the second syllable. Okay, so the next ones will be partial stepping off the line with the same foot twice in a row. Okay, so basically I angle step forward to my right and I angle step backwards to my left. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Also, these are all angle combinations. I won't be including the straight or the lateral in this particular sequence. Okay, then I'm going to go to the other side and step forward left and backward left. 1, 2, didn't rotate enough that time. 3, that was a good one. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, not enough rotation. There we go. Okay. Now I'll go back to the lateral triangles again, but step backward, forward. Backward diagonal, forward diagonal, same foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now come back to the left side and do the same thing. Step backward diagonal and forward diagonal. With the left foot only, or the rear foot only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. All right. So I can see. I think that you can see where this leads to. What it is tactically is stealing the corner. Okay. And that means we're working around to the side of our opponent and attacking from the flank. So if we can actually hit them while we are stepping, then it's least likely that they will turn and face us and ruin that position in time of advantage. If they parry or make us miss or hit us at the same time, then of course it's all open field, all right? And of course, all of this stuff has to be worked in. Shadow boxing, partner training, compliant, semi-compliant, and fully non-compliant equipment training, da-da-dee-da-da-da, pressure testing, and fun and games. So again, we had forward diagonal combination. Now, if I can do this by staying in the proverbial pocket, which means that I'm directly in front of the person, but that I decide instead of using my lead plus my rear hand by doing 2 rear hands. Bang, bang. You understand what I'm saying? All right, that's what I'm saying. But the other one, a zigzag, is actually based upon my beginning position being pretty close to his lead foot as well. So whereas my first hit now takes me to the outside of his arm, and my next angular step, which I face away from, my next angular step makes me face towards him. That we would classify as a zigzag. But essentially it's the same step. It's the V step, or the open female triangle. And but again, so I could remain in front of him and use those angle hits, or I could get off to the outside and zigzag on both sides and going backwards like we had just illustrated. Okay? This again is also done with weaponry. In the part two largo that I'll do, I will use this footwork and refer to this type of footwork as the old largo. Okay? And then I will show my new largo, which is actually a bit more JKD stance and footwork oriented. So you can take a look at both of them, and give it some thought and give it some practice, and see why and when you may want to use either one of them or not. The other thing I was going to say is that my next week, my next video in this BRI Footwork platform will be the JKD part 2. And we'll be talking about partial steps as load-ups in order to hit, which is actually broken rhythm. And it's kind of the opposite of what we just did here, all right? And again, we'll talk more about striking, cutting, and stabbing, and initiating grappling from all of these angles as well. It is universal. It actually is universal, and just slight little changes based upon the results that you're trying to get. What else did I want to tell you? Yeah, and again, you'll see what we're filming, what we're videotaping, and digital video. Not really taping, are we? And so you'll see that all these things that are presented in the footwork platform will be all in the lessons of offense and defense in regards to blunt weapon, edged weapon, and empty hand striking. Okay? All right, dudes, thanks. Appreciate it. And I'll take a shower. Toodaloo.